Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I am thrilled to be sharing with you poetry in honor of the Community Poetry Open Mic Space that was the first Wednesday of the month, every month, pre-pandemic. The pandemic came, they stopped running it at this bookstore. So in order to keep the spirit of this alive, which the host of this reading space appreciates, I'm in and around a bunch of books to be able to share more poetry with you. I am thrilled, like from last readings, I would read poetry from recent Scars Publications book releases, since I am the editor and founder of Scars Publications. And yippee skippy, I have material that I'm going to share with you from one of the sections of the cc&d issue collection book that is titled A Mural of a Forest. This is the coolest cover because these are images from, I believe, the Highlands in Galapagos. And the amazing trees in this one island are collaged together and given paintbrush filters too, so that it actually becomes a mural of images. And it is like an oil painting. It's really hard to see it, but when you look up close, this is what this actually looks like. And it's just the coolest looking thing. I'm really pleased with how this cover looks. So I was going to share with you some poetry that is in this book, in the first section of it, because it's a collection of a number of issues. This first one is a dreams poem, because the gentleman that ran the open mic that I ended up taking over in Chicago used to do dreams poems, and I thought that's a good way to be able to reflect on things. So this is a dreams poem that's titled Outside of the Door. Dreams 5/27/22. I think we were on a road trip or something, and we were stopped at a mall or a food court or something. And I said I should use the public washrooms before we got on the road again. I stepped into the most dilapidated room I'd ever seen, walked over to the dirty stall doors that were shoulder high, looked down to find the lock on the outside of the door, then toward the floor, feces and urine covered the ground. I saw an additional lock from the inside of the stall. I saw no one else was in the room, so I stepped inside of a stall and I tried to close the door, but it was too far away for the wall to close or the lock to come close to fastening. But if no one was there, I might as well just get this over with. And I started to pull at my pants, look down to see that my laces were untied and were now getting soaked with urine. Keep in mind, I don't own any shoes with laces. But suddenly, a man walked into the washroom, all nonchalant-like, toward another stall. So I said, "Excuse me, this is the ladies' room." And without him turning his head toward me, he just said something under his breath like, "What difference does it make?" And that's when I saw his face, and he reminded me of a guy on SNL who was first at Second City, and it was like some sort of connection to me from Chicago. But now that I think about it, he looked more like that actor who played Lenny on Laverne and Shirley. All of this made no sense to me, and I couldn't think of even going to the bathroom anymore. So I just made sure that my clothes were in place, and I just got the hell out. I walked outside in this small area where I was supposed to meet my husband, and all I could think was, if this was the first thing in the morning, why was that bathroom so filthy? I hoped I didn't reek of feces. Well, I kept looking for him until I saw him standing on a ladder helping people with a storefront down the hall. He saw me, waved, quite animatedly, I might add, and I was wondering why he was helping these strangers, and then I heard beep, 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 front door, and woke hearing the alarm system from the front door, letting me know that my husband just left the house for his pre-dawn walk before the sun rises here and makes it too damn hot to enjoy anything outside. So I went to the bathroom. It was clean, by the way. And when I came back to bed, I heard my cat meow. So I got into bed. tapped the bed, and she jumped up. I scratched her ears, and then she turned toward my leg to lay down along my leg. I put my hand down next to her, and she moved one of her back paw legs along my arm a few times until she rested her back paw on my arm. My mouth was closed, but literally in a grin as we bonded 40 minutes until I heard beep, 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 front door. And I knew that soon I would curl up with my husband instead. I told him about my dreams, and he asked me why I keep dreaming about bathrooms and why they're usually so filthy and why they all seem so invasive. I have no idea. I've been wondering about that for a while now, so maybe someone could let me know. Why do I feel like I'm somehow being assaulted in a room that's supposed to be private? Why am I always being assaulted in the most private of places, in the middle of the night, in my dreams? Hey, that's me and John back there. I put pictures up of the two of us because in just a couple of days is our 23-year wedding anniversary, so I figured I should have photos of us going out at the same time. Why not? But I have another poem that I read at last year's Animal Tales, because it's about animals, in a manner of speaking. I hope you like it. It is titled Only Recourse. Kittens watched me walk away before I stepped on a plane, flying me 16 hours away to a time zone 11 and a half hours early. Stepping off the plane, exhausted, I saw hundreds of fish in a long glass aquarium along the floor as they advertised a fish pedicure. Now, I've swam to ocean floor sharks and I've had barracuda circling my feet, so I thought, an all-natural way to feed fish and relieve my feet? What a treat! So I sat down as hundreds of fish swam for a nibble, and I couldn't stop giggling the entire time. And I couldn't stop giggling the entire time. Now, I'm a lover of animals. I wouldn't kill them or wear them or eat them. So only years later did I learn of from the New Delhi Times that al-Muhammar, if you want to know how to spell it, I've got that for you too. The problem humans cause by exploiting thousands of animals to create some extravagant, unneeded, unnecessary niche market. These little fish, called Gararufa, are especially grown in tanks and imported into India, eating human flesh when starved of their plankton and vegetable diet. These mistreated fish suffer with systemic bacterial infections for their eyes, their mouth, their gills, their abdomen, and their excrement has all this in the water that we humans are charmed into immersing our feet into. I mean, some of these foot baths may even cause hepatitis C and HIV. As I said before, what a treat. This water was once tested in a shipment where a slew of different bacteria thrived, resistant to most of antimicrobial medications that cause soft tissue infections. And since this isn't a medical problem, there's no oversight whatsoever. Yeah, I have another photo in here. I might as well show them. I thought that this was a fun idea when I was starting this. I really did. I put my feet into a fish tank like this once, thinking I was doing something good for these fish. Silly me. I should remember that when it comes to humans, the first thing they think whenever it comes to animals is abuse. It is abuse. So, in this case, we should think about how to help these thousands of animals instead. I mean, I believe I'm a concerned citizen to help women trapped in physical or sexual abuse. I immerse myself in other cultures to assist all who do not fit the Caucasian mold. And I think being a vegetarian is enough to help all animals on planet Earth, but I once inadvertently became a willing participant in a system to support the torture and abuse of thousands and thousands and thousands. And I giggled about it the entire time. I have to show the page. Not only has things for my reading of it, but it has these same photos. I swear to God, it's crazy. And I giggled about it the entire time. Oh, and I might as well show it to you in color. I thought it was really funny that I was laughing as hard as I was at this. But there you go. But I giggled about it the amount of time, the entire time. And that's the thing, that this is what we humans do to ourselves. But I'll finish the poem for you. Sorry, I was just getting angry thinking about it. And because it makes me wonder, did I mistreat the fish before? And I kept fish in an aquarium, including the bluegills from a lake that would have become someone else's meal. Well, I didn't starve them, where their only recourse was consume human flesh. Because really, if we're all about love, how do we show it if we turn a blind eye to give concern to only our comfort instead? Because, of course, giving ourselves comfort is all well and good, but wonder the real cost of a feel-good is step back and embrace the big picture. Because when we see the good one thing can do, that's the real comfort for everyone. It was very strange because there's an Animal Tales thing, and I read that as a bonus poem in it, and I just went to Animal Tales this year, and it was all about what is their perspective, and blah, blah, blah. And I wasn't there earlier for the food, but they had fried chicken for everyone. And I thought, how is this being good to animals? If you mass eat them like this, it made no sense to me. Anywho, sorry, that's my moral statement. I'm done with it. I want to say hello to people that are watching on a live feed. This is an honorary reading for the Community Poetry Open Mic Space. That was feature readings that happened on the first, I'm looking at a clock, the first Wednesday of every month from 1 to 3 p.m. So I am reading material from the recently released January to April 2023 issue collection book of cc&d magazine. It's called A Mural of a Forest, which is the coolest thing in the Highlands in the Galapagos Islands right now. It's a collage of images from its coolest thing. But I'm going to read for you one editorial that is in this book, and then I'm going to read a couple poems. That'll be the end of this reading from this book for you guys. This is an editorial that not only appears in cc&d magazine, but it also appears in the Cyberwit, not Scars Publications, the Cyberwit book titled Testament. And the first part of it is all post-Roe v. Wade poetry, out of 4 parts. So I'm going to share with you one editorial that is in the middle of section 1 of Testament, and it is something that it was written on. I'm looking at the Boss Ladies editorial section right here in cc&d. It is written on Independence Day, I believe, and it was titled exactly what I am celebrating. People take this day off in America, the 4th of July, Independence Day. I think I remember when I was little, my parents having a 4th of July party. Dad would grill Croatian sausage we'd get from a local butcher friend that was extra heavy on the garlic. Mom would bake mini sausages wrapped inside of ready-baked croissants. And the brothers and sisters would try to set off small-time fireworks in the state where fireworks were illegal to sell. And when the fireworks wouldn't ignite, my big brother would move the lighter closer to the wick, and we'd make jokes about him losing fingers, which, of course, he never did. I think of all of this as nostalgia 101. We were living the high life. This is what we call the American dream. I remember going every year to the fireworks on the 3rd of July in downtown Chicago. It was such a great show. The pageantry was unsurpassed to me, and people usually had the 4th off. So what a deal that the fireworks were on the 3rd, and you could take the L train home. Running a poetry open mic on the 3rd of July this year, I told everyone to have a happy 4th of July, and one poet said that she wasn't celebrating, she was protesting. And as a good host, I said nice words to her as well as to everyone else, and tried not to think about why this American girl did not enjoy the 4th of July. But today, on Independence Day in the United States, I'm forced to think about this more. I know the Supreme Court made a decision to hurt all womankind with their overturning of Roe v. Wade, but July 4th in America is a holiday about separating ourselves as at the time newly termed Americans from people an ocean away trying to tax us out of our well-being, which probably had something to do with that First Amendment outlining our freedom of speech, the freedom of the press, the freedom of religion. We broke free from what we thought was a tyrannical rule so that we can say what we want, so that we can broadcast the injustices we see in our government, and that there will not be a state-imposed religion. Well, good thing we gave ourselves that when it comes to religion, so we can create as many sects of Christianity as we can imagine. And us Americans can get pretty creative when we get to that chance. And so as a result, we can choose to be more religious than the English, someone from which we were trying to break free. You know, maybe that poet was on the right track, since our rights are being taken away from us explicitly because of religion, which shouldn't be a part of the government. So I'm at this crossroads, thinking about the gallantry that every city poses while exploding of fireworks in assorted colors that just past dusk, as all of us act all down home and drink cans of beer to connect with the rest of the masses and feel like we're a part of something bigger and better. But just as I think this, I think of the way fascist dictators use the kind of pageantry to get the masses in step in the same way and sing the same songs so that they can feel like they're all a part of something bigger and better than what they are. And as I see the correlation, it frightens me. But wait a minute. I know an overabundance of patriotism could seem like nationalism that could lead to literal destruction of a nation. But at the same time, I honestly, truly wonder if I would have a better life in any other country that is socialist or communist, where the edict is to work more to receive less, forcing everyone to strive to be only the base of what they could truly be. I understand that there are problems with this country, but the philosophy of the United States has allowed me to think for myself and earn more from my work and feel I deserve that what I have earned. And I wouldn't have had or even been able to do a fraction of the things that I've done if I lived in any place else. And in my marriage to a Marine, once a Marine, always a Marine, I also subconsciously spoon-fed the notion that freedom isn't free, which I am more than fully aware of, but I see patriotism on one side of my life and fighting against the government on the other. Yes, I am infuriated by the overturning of Roe v. Wade. I do understand that it was legal when this country was founded, and that any rights not outlined by the national government should be left to the states, which forces me to understand the overturning of Roe v. Wade. But a woman's right to choose was something this country couldn't take away. I'm just afraid that with what is the confoundedly over-religious nature of literally over half of these United States, that more and more women will lose more and more of their basic rights. This is why a part of me laughed again when my Marine husband facetiously said to me in the dinner tonight, "Happy Independence Day. Maybe one day you women can get your rights back." Because even some Marines may have once believed that abortion was wrong and women should not have the ability to have an abortion, until they heard from women like me talking about their personal experience or experiences with their friends, and how an abortion may not have been an easy choice, but sometimes it is the only choice for women, including abused children. Learning these things may be the thing that all people need, so that our political choices don't push us all farther backwards in time. Since the overturning of Roe v. Wade, the French Prime Minister supported abortion rights into their constitution. Israel loosens law restrictions for abortion issues in what is, albeit difficult, but ultimately their right. By the beginning of July, I see news articles from outside the U.S. as well as within, literally about 10-year-old girls who have been raped, who want to get an abortion, and child abuse doctors now have to find clinics outside of their own state to help these brutalized little girls. Pre-law students plan to boycott law schools in states where abortions have been banned, and there are news reports that some students fear going to colleges in red states after the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Press polls weeks after the overturning on Independence Day they state that parents with children going to colleges in states like Texas are telling their children that they will not pay their tuition for their children to go to a school in a state that supports the restriction of women's rights. I think it would be nice if families could make so many minor decisions that it might force the backward ways of the mentalities of parts of this country. I wonder if my car temperature... Actually, right now it said that it was over 101 degrees outside right now. Not unlike that room that possesses all your worst fears. Does fiction become reality when people from the past want to take their rights away from women after we have worked so diligently to prove the weaker sex wrong? I hear news reports of 10-year-old girls who have been raped and are forced to keep what is growing inside of them until it becomes a child, not unlike them, and this child has to raise something that only came because of horror, and eventually also ignorance. This is what this country is slowly becoming. And it makes me wonder, again, exactly what I'm celebrating. And yeah, this specific story here was actually relayed by President Biden's speech on July 8th in 2022, before he signed his executive order on abortion access to support abortion rights. And I think people were ripping on him because he couldn't tell them who that actually was. I'm like, it is somebody. He didn't make it up. I heard him say it. I'm like, I know that one's actually true because I had written about it before seeing his press release. But anywho, I'm going to save you guys because you just got an overdose of things when it comes to moral issues, like the post-Roe v. Wade poetry that is not only in that book, but is also in the Saberwick book Testament. But I was going to share with you one, maybe two poems. I think I'll do two. They are periodic table poems. There is a person who will send stories to me, and they'll be about elements. And so I'm like, yippee skippy, I'm going to have to put poetry in that would follow it. And so I have to go to that section right there. Haha. And I'm going to share with you a Twitter-length poem and a regular poem for the element technetium. This first one is called Technetium's Inner Glow. It also appears in the Twitterverse periodic table poetry book. A chemist friend of mine, Avram, said, "Hey, Chemistry and Engineering News is doing a contest, Janet. You should send a Twitter-length poem." So I'm like, I'm going to make one for every element in the periodic table, which they finished their contest before I was done, but I got third place with one of them. But technetium was not it. But these things have images in them as well, which I might share for this Technetium poem, and then share with you a periodic table poem and close off this reading for you guys. This is Technetium's Inner Glow, number 43. By the way, for you geeks, it's number 43, TC. Anyway, Technetium's Inner Glow. Thought you were artificial, then you became caustic. You sound like bad B-movie radioactive nuclear waste. But injecting you into me, you make my organs glow. It scares me that you invade me. But when you do, deep inside, you stick around long enough to reveal the truth. You see, they use it because it's got such a short half-life, and you can put it in, you can see where tumors and things are in the body. So these things which are actually bad for you can actually turn out to be quite good. And that is why I share that in a Twitter link poem for Technetium's Inner Glow. And then I will follow it up with an actual poem for the actual element. As I said, that was from Twitter length periodic table poetry, as well as a mural of a forest, the cc&d issued collection book. But I'm also going to share with you the actual poem for Technetium, which was in Periodic Table of Poetry book, which was before they all had names. It's true. And it's in both of these books, so I'm going to share with you one more poem, and it'll be done for this reading in honor of this reading space for community poetry. This is called Technetium. You're named from the Greek word for artificial, because you were the first element man ever made. We wanted to discover, we wanted to find you out. Or we'd even create you if this was the only way. We could only find you after your brethren have been broken apart to reveal you. But the thing is, your name is a bit misleading, though, since you can be found naturally, albeit in trace amounts. Though it's funny, we searched for you for so long, and now we discover that you're a byproduct of our nuclear power stations. Then everyone thought we couldn't know what to do with nuclear waste. You've been put into this environment as low-level waste for nearly half a century. But what I've learned is that doctors inject small amounts of you into patients with tumors so they can see exactly where they need to heal people. People wondered what we do with our nuclear waste, but now you're used in 20 million medical procedures each year because your short half-life makes you safe. And the way you decay helps doctors see exactly what they need to do to save a life. And yeah, your nuclear waste injected into a human, but they need such a small amount that the radiation is low. It's hard to believe that we searched for you for so long, and now that you're injected into 20 million patients in North America alone every year, it's good that we finally figured you out. And with every element table, I would have an image that would go with it for Technetium. He was in there as well for my jump photo, as silly as this guy is. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that reading. I think I might come back with one more reading in honor of the 1 to 3 p.m. reading time for community poetry, which was something hosted by Tom Woodruff, an Australian man living here in Austin, Texas. The open mic, the reading space at the bookstore was closed down due to the pandemic, but he appreciates that I keep it running this way. So I'll come back with one more reading in honor of this space for you guys. Thank you all for listening. The pandemic is over. I hope you all have been given your shots for not having to deal with this medication any longer, or this pandemic any longer. Stay safe, stay creatively inclined, and I will come back with one more reading in this time. Thank you again for everybody on the live feed that is watching, and I will talk to each and every one of you very, very soon. Thank you very, very much. Thanks.